Hey everybody, I'm Jason, the creator of the Army Showcase and host of the Tabletop Battlefield over at tabletopbattlefield.com. And today in this episode of Green Gaming, we're going to be building some Barracks or Mechwarrior Age of Destruction out of plastic packaging. So welcome back to episode 2 of Green Gaming presented by the Tabletop Battlefield. So if you never watched the show before, the goal is to build simple miniature wargame themed projects out of trash. So in the previous episode, we built a Tau Empire secret missile battery for Warhammer 40,000 out of some food packaging, some sports drinks caps, a few Easter eggs, and dental floss, and some other oddball little items. And previous things we've done, we've actually created some other little, here's a Mechwarrior Dark Age helipad built out of packaging. And here's a nuclear power plant built out of lunch trash. So like I said, this time around, we are building Barracks for Mechwarrior Age of Destruction. So the packaging we've got here are table tennis balls. They usually come in packages of 6, where essentially there's 2 cylinders to the package. One cylinder will hold 3 balls, the other cylinder will also hold 3 balls. And what we're going to do here is essentially cut this packaging in half and create a single Barracks. But what we're going to do is half the packaging is going to become the, quote, good Barracks, where essentially they're undamaged, and the other half is going to become like the damaged Barracks. So if the structure be destroyed, you remove the top half, and there'd be like this kind of ruined, messy stuff underneath it to kind of simulate the Barracks taking a lot of damage. So what you're going to want to do, start off, first carefully cut this plastic packaging in half, which I know can be downright evil, because if you ever, all these stupid packaging are just next to impossible to open up. But do your best to cut it in half as nicely as possible. So now if you're like me, when you ripped open the package to actually get the table tennis balls out, you probably mangled one of the 2 halves, which is perfectly fine because that mangled half is the one you're going to want to use to build the damaged section out of. So what you want is some kind of tag board. I usually use food packaging. So here I've actually got my microwave dinner box. That works perfectly fine. So place down the good half of the Barracks is going to be the, quote, undamaged side. And using a pencil, where's my pencil? Here it is. You want to trace around it, but have about a ½ inch sticking out from every side. So there will be a little bit of extra cardboard around it. So your idea is you're kind of creating a base for the Barracks. It doesn't have to be really smooth, so just a rough trace is good. Just go ahead and cut that out. And then once you've got your base cut out here, what you want to do is place the good, quote, good Barracks back down again, and actually go ahead now and trace nearly exactly the shape of the good Barracks. Because what you want to do is when you make the destroyed portion of the Barracks, you want them to make sure they fit entirely within the good, quote, good Barracks. So there we go. As you can see here now, this little map, I've traced out where the good Barracks are. And what you're going to do is take this, the half that's going to become the, quote, destroyed Barracks, and start by cutting the 2 cylinders in half, because it needs to be a little bit thinner than the actual Barracks. So then from each half, you want to cut off maybe, say, 10-15% of its width. So we're going to go ahead now and cut off starting there. So as you can see here, I just removed about that chunk from each side. Because in order for this illusion to work, the, quote, good Barracks have to fit over the, quote, damaged Barracks. So there now, for if you place the, quote, damaged Barracks down on the sheet, so you're going to notice now they're a little bit narrower than the, quote, good Barracks where they fit on the sheet. Now you got to make them a little bit shorter and a little bit kind of narrower this way. So what you're going to do then, take each of these 2 things and just kind of cut them in half horizontally. So now originally you had 2 pieces like this. They're split apart into 2 shorter pieces. Do the same for both of them. And go ahead and just say the same thing. Cut maybe 10% or so off each piece. So you can see here, like in this one, I just cut off this tiny sliver off the end. Therefore, if you would slide that piece back down, you can notice now it's definitely narrower than the, quote, good Barracks. Do the same thing for the other pieces. So now all 4 pieces should fit within that box you traced that outlines a quote, good barracks. So, what we're going to do at this point is make these things look really beat up. So just take your scissors to them and cut a whole bunch of jagged lines around, cut some holes in the roof. Go nuts. Just make it look like these things have been absolute hell and back. Because they've basically just been blown at itty bitty bits. So I'll go ahead and we'll cut that there. So if you've done this right, you'll now see it looks like they've basically just had all the little bits blown out of them. Obviously this is going to be more pronounced when we get it all primed up, but for now you can kind of see how each individual piece now has had little things cut out of it. You can kind of squeeze them around. And if you've done this right, you should be able to take the quote, good section of the barracks and place it completely over the quote, damaged section. So therefore, the damaged section is what's going to be glued down to the base. And during the gameplay, when the good section hit and blows up, you're going to go ahead and just remove this good section from it. And therefore, underneath it's going to be all the wrecked, ruined crap. That makes it look like it's just been blown to bits. So, let's go ahead and take some hot glue and just start gluing these damaged plastic sections down as best you can. Kind of get the approximate shape of the barracks, but this thing's been blown up pretty bad, so there's no requirement that it has to really actually be the exact shape. Just make sure when you glue things down, everything fits within that outline that you traced out. There we go. As you can see here now, I've glued all the damaged sections down to the base. And what you're going to want to do, once this hot glue is completely dried, make sure that the good section still fits over it. Alright. Man, there's a lot of flockings on me. Dang table. You want to go ahead and now prime each section up individually. So hit it with some black primer. And maybe, give it a few layers of this kind of gray paint where each layer is a little bit later than the last. Just give it kind of a little worn, concrete look to it. And then obviously leave black bits around all the edges. Maybe make it look like there's a few little craters and holes in it. Like for example here, let me show you in the nuclear plant. As you can see here, when I remove the cooling tower section of the nuclear plant, you can see how it's kind of all jagged with little scarred edges along there, make it look like it's been burnt up and whatnot. So you want to add that same kind of paint effect to this. Yep, so prime the good portion of the barracks separately, make it look nice and pristine, maybe draw a few little doors here. And go ahead and flock this base, and put a little bushes here and there, maybe a few little rocks, give it your typical flocking, and it'll probably be done and ready for use in your Mechwarrior Age of Destruction games. Thanks for watching the second episode of Green Gaming presented by the Tabletop Battlefield. For more information on the world of miniature war games, whether it be more crazy trash-based projects like this, or reviews of games, strategies, and other articles, check out the Army Showcase and Tabletop Battlefield podcast over at www.tabletopbattlefield.com. And once again, I'm Jason. Thanks for watching.